You are live.
You are live. We're live.
You just come out your crib, haven't you?
Yeah,
Great.
I was
Just
dropping
come
off.
back.
I was dropping off. I forgot we were going to go online. Just dropping off to sleep there. Okay, hi everyone. We'll say hello to everybody as you come online. But tonight's topic, if you're just joining us, is going to be about dreams of your dead loved ones. You know, can the dead talk to us in dreams? So we're doing this topic, and if you're a patron too, I'll be running a second thing on this on Zoom on the for the patrons. If you go on if you're on the patron site, have a look on the Zoom ones that I do, and we'll be talking about can psychic powers come through dreams. So we're going to talk about dreams of the dead and those that love you in the spirit. So we've got greetings from Sanja. Just move the screen across slightly. Yeah. Hi there from Sri Lanka. Sanjay from Sri Lanka. Nana Rosebud from Hampshire, UK. Good to see you guys.
Not that lady from Totten again, is it?
I don't
Not
know.
that lady.
Maybe, yeah, might have been the Totten lady, was it?
Hello from Chester Street. Hope all is well. Andrew Roberts.
Chester Street.
Where's that?
No idea. Perhaps back by Chester, but Le Street sounds a bit Frenchy, doesn't it? Sand Sky, hello from Georgia. Hi there. Hi there, guys.
How you all doing?
Folkestone, yeah. Jonathan there. So
I thought it said Tony Blair for a minute.
Tony Blair, yeah.
Ah, Mr. Avocado.
Nicola Avocado 3. I didn't know you were parts of triplets.
Oh, India, that's nice. Oh, stayed awake. Bless you.
Stayed awake. Yeah, people have been
Agility bits.
Never heard of them before.
Hi, Agility. Patrice, hi.
I know some of you get up at ridiculous hours and stay up ridiculous hours in order to watch us. It's very kind of you. And nice
Laurie
of you.
Owens,
Wyoming.
Oh.
Yes. Lorraine Biggs. We're looking down here because our screen's down here today. Lorraine Biggs from Wareham and Dorset, because obviously Domenico's not with us today in our front room to be able to set things up because, you know, we're all on lockdown, aren't we, still? So there's another lockdown video. Hi from India.
Chandra.
When are you coming here? Haven't got plans at the moment for India.
Well, we can't go to India at the moment. Lockdown.
No, but I'm writing another book about India. When I went to, because I went there in February, you see, and went to see Sharavana there, and I'm writing about it. Hi from Darlow, UK. Darlington? Darlow? I don't know.
Celia.
Celia. Hi, Celia.
Hello, Craig and Jane from Hackney in London.
Yeah.
Chasgrove.
And don't forget, when you start thinking about some of the stories, because we'll talk a bit, of course, about how the dead communicate through dreams, but would love to hear your stories. So start typing them and have them ready to copy paste or something, because it would be really nice to hear your ideas and what happens.
Especially if somebody's just lost somebody. And
on Monday, Tina, when you're doing it on Zoom. So it's going to be every Monday, 7 o'clock UK time. So I hope that fits with you. I know someone in Australia was saying she has to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to come to it.
Roger.
So keep an eye on the patron post.
Hello
from New Zealand. You see, when you're in New Zealand and Australia, it's so difficult with your times.
Oh, from Delhi.
New Delhi, namaste.
Namaste.
Chandni.
Chandra. Oh,
Prem, the middle name, that means love, doesn't
Millie.
it? Bali.
Millie. Doreen. Finn, greetings from San Antonio.
So if you're just joining now, because we're just saying hello to everybody as you all come online.
Ginger Tea, hi from Indiana, USA.
Don't forget to have a few of your dreams. You may have dreamed of dead people or had dreams of death too. We can cover that too and talk about things like that. From New York there, I just missed.
Erin,
hello, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I'm a patron. Well done, Erin. We'll try to give priority to patrons. If you're a patron, you know we know who you are. We have a list.
Nana, yes, she is in Totten. Good old Totten, Nana.
I used to demonstrate at Totten Spiritualist Church. They got quite a nice little spiritualist church there in Totten. Small but nice.
Well, it's people that make churches.
I used to do that one quite a lot in the beginning. Hello from Virginia, Red Morris. Hi, Red. Hi, Greg and Jane. West Sussex, all over the world again. India, New Zealand.
Yeah,
We've got the
John's
whole lot,
good,
haven't
isn't
we?
he?
The whole lot.
Sarah, Sky, hello from Germany.
Yeah,
Hello,
Germany.
Sarah.
A lot of it. There's a lot of spiritual interests I've noticed in Germany. A lot of the gurus and things go there.
Jason
Mother Mira
Slimming
does,
World.
doesn't she?
Hi, Craig and Jane from sunny Blackpool.
That Slimming World, is that a hint? That must be a hint. That must be a troll. It must be. Nadia, hello from New York City.
Michelle.
Oh, from
Ciao,
Italy.
From Italy.
Yeah.
Nice to see you both.
Yeah, well, of course, we've got Italians working in the background here, because Domenico, of course.
Arrivederci, Craig. Arrivederci.
Bellissimo. Good evening, Craig and Jane, from Mill Hill in London. So as you're joining, we're just saying hello to everybody if you're just coming online, and we're going to talk tonight about the
Swami
dead contacting
Anya.
us through dreams.
From Bangalore.
Oh, Bangalore, fantastic! Right, that's where we, of course, we went
there.
to see Sai Baba near there, put a party. Hello from Toronto, Canada. Florita. Hi there, Florita.
It's a beautiful name, isn't it, Florita?
Yay! Made it from Oz.
Good
Jason.
vibes.
Yeah, goodness. I can't
Down
remember.
under.
Now it must be about 5 o'clock in the morning there. It must be in
It's
Oz.
Friday the 13th.
Yeah, of course. This today would have been a good one to do, the one about the superstitions we did a few weeks ago, didn't we?
Ginger tea.
Ginger tea. Yes, that sounds a good idea.
Diana, North Carolina. Hi, Diana.
Hiya. Elizabeth, Karen Elizabeth Killingstand.
From Norway. I think you ought to bring that mic a bit forward.
No,
Craig.
we're all right. We're okay.
Sure?
Yeah.
Melbourne, Australia.
Sorry. Yeah, Melbourne. Yeah, so there again, you're right in the middle of the night, early morning. You must be early risers. So thanks for joining us. And this is another, obviously another live we're doing now. You can always watch these again later if you want to criticize us and put some thumbs downs for us or whatever.
Thumbs to you, thumbs up to me.
And if you're new, we always have these sort of live sessions at 7 o'clock UK time on Fridays. And tonight we're going to talk about the dead contacting us in dreams. Have you got any first thoughts on that, Jane?
Yes, I've known a lot of people when they've lost loved ones and perhaps they haven't been able to go to the funeral, or perhaps that person's died in a different country. They wanted to ask for a sign, and they might have had a dream 2 days later with a loved one reaching out to them. And I feel that's one way that they're contacting souls on the earth.
Through dreams.
Through dreams.
Because, I mean, between us, I mean, we through our lives must have met thousands of people that are interested in mediumship, or have been bereaved, or have come to find out about the next life, you know. And quite often after, particularly if you're having a reading at home, you sometimes sort of have a chat with people afterwards, don't you? And they tell you all the stories about how their dead loved ones have communicated. And dreams are often the way most people get into it, aren't
especially
they?
Children, if they've lost children, especially babies, because babies grow in the spirit world.
Yeah. So I suppose no, I've taken quite a lot of interest in dreams, because I've written.
You're still dreaming.
Because I spend 90% of my life
You're
in
a
it.
dreamer.
Yeah. But I've written 7 books on dreams, I think, in total. So I did quite a lot of research on.
You've got a lot to catch up with me then.
Yeah, but I did quite a lot of research on dreams, and when we have dreams of the dead, I think when we talk about dreams of the dead, it's important we distinguish between what's a real spirit contact in a dream, and if that is possible, and what is a dream there where we're dreaming about our dead loved ones, as it were, in the context of a normal dream. You know, because when you dream about people in life, you know, you don't assume that person's in your dream, do you? They are symbols of something that's happening in yourself. I mean, you know, Freud and Jung and all the others, Adler and all the rest of them, all talked about how in dreams, the people that appear in our dreams are often, usually in most dreams, symbols of aspects of ourself, you know, or they can be symbols like of our reactions and relationships with our infantile self, with the father and the mother and siblings and so forth. And often in dreams, they kind of have a very strong charge of emotion, often in those type of dreams sometimes, So we'll have a lot of dreams about the people in dreams can be symbolic, and that can include the people that are dead as well, as
What
well as the
about
living.
lucid dreaming, and when you're in a sleep state and you wake up and you don't know if that's reality or you're still dreaming?
Well, that's sometimes happens in dreams because most dreams are like kind of deal with all the emotional rubbish of the day. And then other dreams go a bit deeper. And then sometimes you get what Carl Jung used to call the grand dreams, or like you're saying, Jane, like the lucid dreams, where you're awake in the dream. And I think those lucid dreams, those dreams where we kind of wake up in the dream and we can kind of control the dream and we kind of know that we're dreaming, but we're still asleep. That's what a lucid dream is really about. That those dreams, there might be fertile ground, as it were, to connect with your other powers, your clairvoyant power, because we all have intuitive clairvoyant power. And maybe that's a sort of an in-between state where we can connect with the dead. There's a good time. I mean, have you had dreams at all,
Well,
Jane?
I mean, you look at Edgar Casey. He was another one that used to dream about diagnosing people with illnesses and that, and it all came true, didn't it?
Yeah.
So where did that come from?
Yeah, there's a good book about him called The Sleeping Prophet, wasn't it? And he used to go into he didn't call it a trance, he would call it a sleep state. He went into a sort of catonical state. Is that right?
Yeah.
And he would in that state, in a sort of dozy state, people would come to him and he would be able to give them diagnosis of what was wrong with them, the illnesses and things, and prescribe. So that shows that subconscious mind, that unconscious, subconscious levels is kind of where all the powers come from. Most of our great inspiration and ideas often come out of the unconscious mind, or often come in dreams, don't they? All great inspirations and even scientific discoveries and all sorts have come because of a dream. So they're not to be dismissed as nonsense. And I really do believe that dreams can sometimes be a connecting point between this world and the spirit world, and are certainly a point where we can get in touch with our psychic selves. I mean, hypnosis as well is another way where we find that people can find they've got powers they didn't expect.
Well, a lot of it's auto-suggestion with hypnosis.
Yeah, but it also, you can, for example, you can say to someone, I'm put you in a trance, right, and tell the person, right, you are now the great clairvoyant. You can see.
Put you in a trance.
Yeah, but no, suppose they've done it, where they put people in a trance and hypnotize them and said, now you have clairvoyant powers and you can do this, you can do. And the person believes they're a clairvoyant and then gives real clairvoyant information.
Yeah, there was a black and white film called The Clairvoyant where he used to predict all the horses would win. And then he had a knock on the head and all his clairvoyance went.
Was he was hypnotized,
yes,
was he? Yeah. Oh, right. Okay.
1930s film.
I'm not that old, unfortunately, Jane.
You are an old soul. So that makes you old.
So dreams have this sort of amazing connection with, which I think is much greater powers, And then, of course, you'll also have dreams about death, and those dreams can be very distracting. Frightening. And death dreams are often not so much about a real death. Sometimes they could be a prediction, but most times they're dreams about the way we're feeling, And in our dreams, we feel like death. I do sometimes. But the dreams are, if a person says emotionally in a terrible state, you'll be the death of me. We put it in our language. We often have these dreams of death and burial and being buried and things like that, frightening nightmares that are representative of things that are happening in our
like
unconscious.
Somebody contacting you from the spirit world from another dimension, really, and reaching you in your consciousness to give you proof.
Yeah.
And I think it's always good to write these dreams down.
There's been a lot of studies too of people, dreams of people who are bereaved, and they will often dream of their dead loved one. But often those dreams that are trying to help you come to terms with all those stages of bereavement, you know. And so, for example, I remember I wrote a column, and a lot of people used to say they used to dream of their dead loved one, but in the dream they were divorced, you know, and the person had divorced them and walked away.
That's fear.
Well, it's emotional, you see. It's a
Fear.
representation dream of the fact that you feel you've been abandoned, you know, you feel you've
Fear.
been let down, you feel you've been rejected. And fear dreams as well come into it as well, you know, and the loved one is suddenly terrifying, you know, because you're dealing with the emotions. So that shouldn't be confused with the dream of a direct contact with a loved one, you see. Would you agree?
Yes, I think you would know if a loved one communicated with you, because you might wake up and you feel a sense of warmth, and you might feel that really was them. It's the reality, and it feels true that they contacted you, because sometimes, you know, it takes an awful lot of energy for a loved one to come back and communicate with you.
Yeah, so it's without fear, it's without grief, it's without, and it's like,
Relax.
it's almost like, oh, fancy seeing you. I thought you were dead. You know, that is, I think, part of the quality that comes with these type of dreams that can distinguish it from those emotional sort of dreams I've just described. It's almost like, oh, matter of fact, and all the grief you've got is gone. It's just like, oh, hi there, how you doing? You know, and I think that is a sign, in my opinion, of a dream that is a real contact with the spirit person. It's almost without emotion. It's without the fear. It's without the stress, the grief, the pain, the sense of abandonment and things that people get in those emotional dreams.
Lots of people dream where they feel they're held down by an incubine, don't they? Have you had that experience?
Well, that's a complete incubines and succubines, as they called, is more connected with I think, with a condition called narcolepsy, which is where the back of the brain wakes up late. So I don't see that as demonic things and things that people might want to ask about, things like that. So, so have you had an experience where you feel that you've had a dead loved one contact you? And most importantly, have you been given some proof?
Yeah, that's important.
Because, you know, it's all very well having a dream of somebody, but what if they told you something that was completely gave you proof? Here we go. We've got Ophelia. I usually have dreams of my relatives that pass away only when I have problems. They will give me a message that usually helps me with my problem.
Well, that's very nice, isn't it? That gives you reassurance.
Yeah,
it?
and I wonder, Ophelia, if they gave you any specific information, you know, anything that could, I suppose they are giving you information, aren't they?
Well, she's probably sending up thoughts, and she's got a problem in the back of her mind, and they're making a connection to help her on the earth plane.
Yeah. So I think that's I often sometimes, if you've had dreams of Sai Baba, I often think, problems ahead, because I always seem to find that I have dreams of important dreams like that when there's going to be something I need to deal with in life, I think. And I think loved ones do want to connect with us to give proof, don't they? And perhaps they connect just to give reassurance, like Ophelia there said she had.
What's this one?
I dream about my family members when I'm particularly down. They don't really make sense most of the time, but it's always when I'm having a bad time.
Well, that's really interesting, because that's two people saying when they felt low and had problems, that loved ones come and connect with them. That's really interesting.
Well, you know, it could be, like I say, it could be symbolic. It could be like, you know, if say it's someone that you loved, your nan or something, you dream of her, and it kind of gives you a sense of well-being. I mean, that could be your own unconscious mind healing you, so it could be symbolic, or it could also be the spirit of your nan communicating with you. I find it fascinating. I did that program on American TV called Nightmares Decoded. Some of that's on the site if you have a look on the listing there. And sometimes I gave people messages from the spirit person that they dreamed about. So I took it from being just a symbolic dream into an actual connection with the grandparent. So there was some proof there in those programs if you want to look them up. Sally Halfpenny said, my mum comes to me in my dreams. She told me I would be a nanny, and a month later my son told me he was becoming a dad. This year she told me an old friend of theirs would die, and he died 6 months later. Yeah, well, these are the strange things that come, aren't they, Sally? I mean, I know your mum, of course, and she was very psychic, so she would like naturally.
Well, cousin,
because Sally's my cousin, I say. That's why we always say something rude about it when she comes online.
But,
sorry, Sally. It's true though. I mean, you get these amazing proofs sometimes. And I'm sure, and our nan too, actually, used to get. She had dreams. I remember she had a dream before my sister's wedding that my sister was all dressed in black, the bride wearing black, and of course her husband died 6 months after she got married. So dreams can also be prophecies, and often those prophecies are sometimes brought by people we know in the spirit that come to give us warnings as well as help. And I never know whether I used to believe that you couldn't tell the time of a death, but sometimes I think perhaps you can, and perhaps the spirit world see it coming, don't they?
Well, nobody can tell you when you're actually going to die. A doctor can tell your organs are breaking down, but they can't tell you when you're going to die. That's in God's hands, Craig.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Maybe we can get access to it or not.
I don't think so.
I've only changed my mind because of the Nadi stuff, but that date keeps changing. I notice every time you do the remedies. But that's another topic. So if you've had some interesting experience, Nana's saying here, do you want me to read it out, Jane?
You might as well.
My dream with Mum, I asked her for a present from the world of spirits. She wasn't sure. She disappeared through a door, came back and told me to touch her hand. I did, and it went pink, warm, and I felt it.
Well, that's once again, isn't it? It's love and giving her reassurance, like everything could be all right.
Yeah,
sort of a dream
but
like that.
She's got there an actual physical presence you've had there, Nana, haven't you? Felt it. I mean, I know your mum said she had the sheets pulled back on the bed, didn't she, once? Yes. And then we've had a number of occasions where, you seem to physically see the spirit person just as you're waking up, for example, and it's there for a flash.
Well, that's a physical
but you see him physical. But she's felt it physically.
And a comfort.
Felt it through all the 5 senses. She couldn't have been over
very long, that mother, and that's why she's come back to give her reassurance. Is
that
right?
Might be. I expect in most cases, actually, when they come back, I think there's a special energy just after a person's died, where they get a few moments where they, perhaps because they're still connected with the physical plane up to a point, and it's that time they can connect with us in a very special way, and that's when I think you get physical things like things moving and things like that. But I don't think those things fade as time fades, and there's sort of like a few moments, I think, in the first period precious, after death,
isn't it?
Yeah.
My mother couldn't have been over very long. Julie B. I dream a lot of my parents and other relatives who have passed away, but I am not in my home. I'm somewhere else. Sometimes it's like I'm in a fog and they appear. A lot of times I know I'm asleep. Well, it's obviously they're trying to get through to her, and if she feels she's somewhere else, she's lost, isn't she, trying to find them.
Yeah, it's interesting how many people actually are having these type of things to say here, because I can even see on the left of the screen here lots of questions, lots of messages coming up.
Going mad.
So it is interesting. What's that fog about? You can't. She says sometimes it's like I'm in a fog and they appear, and that's quite an eerie sort of image, as if the spirits come out of the fog.
It's like a mist, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's like a physical mist. I don't find that eerie. It's like a physical mist. They're trying to get through that barrier. Sometimes people might think they're trapped between two worlds, mightn't they? And it's trying to reach out to them.
It's interesting. Dreams are full of such interesting and fantastic imagery, and I think it's rather nice when we connect like that. I mean, I've had dreams also. You saying about a fog there, I've had dreams about what, particularly before I developed my mediumship, really, of dreams that I used to get very vivid dreams, what I thought were dreams of the afterlife. And in that dream, I used to walk across a field of wheat to get to this place. And it wasn't until later that I realized that a lot of mythology actually includes this idea of the reeds and the wheat that you pass across before you get to the afterlife.
Sounds like the Wicker Man to me.
Yeah, well, no, ancient Greeks believed it, but I didn't know that, you see. And I used to have these amazing dreams of an incredible world, which I thought years later, because I was really young when this happened, could have been my first connections with the afterlife. And, I'm not saying that just I get that. I expect we all get sometimes those glimpses of the world beyond, as well as the people.
I'm sure everybody does. I'm sure they do.
Could we not perhaps be astral traveling, perhaps not necessarily out of our body, but our minds might be able to connect somehow with other planes?
There's got to be other dimensions. Nobody can tell you where the spirit world is, can they? So there's definitely other parallel worlds.
Yeah, the spirit world's not in another place. It's not on another planet or anything like that. It's possibly another dimension. But I think it's a little bit like the world of dreams, that the spirit world is a bit like that world of dreams, where mind becomes more dominant than matter.
You can answer this one, Craig.
So Jonathan Blair's saying, we usually dream within our subconscious, but sometimes in the other worlds. How do you identify the polarity? Please give examples of different symbols. Just see if I got that right. So we dream within our subconscious, yes. But sometimes, okay, so what you're saying, a lot of dreams are just the subconscious mind dealing with problems, aren't you? So those are the symbols that we get from that. How do you identify that sort of dream and the type of dream that's like the grand dream that Jung said? Well, I've often noticed, it's a whole big question really about the dream symbols. You see, Carl Jung said that there was these things called what he called archetypal symbols, that we have what's called a collective unconscious mind, and that certain symbols come up time and time again in that collective unconscious. Symbols of fire, symbols of the mother, symbols of the father, phallus symbols of the tree.
Tunnels and trains.
Yeah, all these very, very common dreams, particularly take us right back to archaic ancient times, that we have perhaps a shared consciousness in dreams, so part of what we do connects with that. But then I think those big symbols, as it were, often come into play when we move into the realms beyond the normal subconscious day-to-day worries, when we go into the big questions about life and the beyond. And Carl Jung was a fantastic person for looking into all these things. He wrote a fantastic book called, when he was dying, actually, it was dictated when he was on his deathbed, called Memories, Dreams, Reflections. And in one of some of the dreams he describes there, he talks about seeing himself meditating, and he knew that if he woke himself up, he would be no more. And he had dreams of his doctor, who appeared to him in what he called his archetypal form, in his primal form, he described it as, and dressed as a priest of Kos, And then he had dreams, in apostrophes, of being high above the earth and looking down and seeing the whole earth from above. So those are sort of dreams that go well beyond the normal symbolism of dreams. And I don't know if there's any way we can actually define it, Jonathan, if I'm answering the question correctly here. But I think those big archetypal symbols often are the things that connect us with the next world. And that's why they appear so often in things like religion and things like that, because they connect us. And perhaps those symbols, those big symbols, as it were, the archetypal symbols, are symbols that are there perhaps as a stepping stone to higher consciousness and also to higher awareness, which would include connection with the spirit world. So I don't know if I've answered your question or not really, but anyway, some interesting thoughts there, hopefully, for you.
Right. Cats. I've had many dreams come true, tit for tat. I don't have them often that come true, but sometimes the spirit does show me things through dreams that come true within 24 hours. Precognition.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you've had dreams where things. Have you had premonitions of the future in dreams, Jane?
Yes, I have. And I remember having a dream that I woke up and I said, Craig, I dreamt last night you bought a black BMW, and you nearly looked shocked. You said, I've just bought a black BMW and I wasn't going to tell you. Do you remember?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was going to
want to
surprise you
surprise
with
you,
it. Yeah, I was
yeah.
going to surprise you with it, and you saw it.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with us is we can never spring surprise Christmas
Secrets.
presents. Every year, Jane knows one way or another what I've got her. Or actually, nowadays she just tells me. It's easier, but you can't have surprises, can you? Because we do pick it up, and I really think, like we've made predictions. I mean, okay, you've watched my predictions, but Jane and I used to do the big breakfast on the Channel 4, and we used to predict next week's news today together.
And they had a scoreboard, what was pending, what was right, what was wrong, didn't they?
Yeah.
We used to put our neck on the line.
I think that would be a good way to do that on this channel, actually. But dreams were one of the ways. I mean, I used to keep a very strict dream diary and keep an eye on the dream diary for things that I felt were predictions coming through that way. Did you have you had it that way with dreams?
No, my dreams, I can remember every single dream. I can remember spiritual dreams. I can remember one dream where I opened a window and the sea level was like that, and there was beautiful goldfish because jumping up and down. The most beautiful dream that I saw.
Yeah, I've had a similar dream to that.
Is it because water symbolises spirituality?
Goldfish floating around as big fish.
Right.
Yeah, that's
Marie, I dreamt of my granddad talking to me, explaining it was going to be a cold, hard winter, and guess it was. Oh, that's nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
Obviously very close to your grandfather, and obviously trying to protect you, to tell you it's going to be hard winter and to keep warm and wrap up warm. That's quite a beautiful thing. It's like someone being your guardian angel, really.
And I think also, Marie, it's a little bit like I said, it's often the dreams that we have of the dead, I think, are very matter of fact, like just chatting to your granddad, and you wake up and, oh, I was talking to my granddad. What was all that about, And I think they're a little bit more vivid than a normal dream too, somehow, without being intensely scary or worrying or anything like that, This matter of factness is what I think. And also, sometimes dreams about the future are almost matter of fact, Oh, by the way, the world's going to end. Oh, is it? Oh, that's interesting. It's like, not that it is.
Have no fear, well, Craig and Jane's here. It's not going to end.
No, of course it's not. But I mean, you know what I mean? You could have major things shown you in a dream, and you don't bat an eyelid. Oh, really? It's like we transcended the emotions in dreams, I think. And a bit, the other dreams about being buried and death dreams and frightening dreams and dreams of funerals and dreams of worries, I think are more connected with the human emotions.
I think some people are frightened of going to sleep at night because they're frightened they're going to die in their sleep and not wake up. And when they wake up, they're suddenly conscious and they're in this world. And it's, a lot of people have inner fears.
Yeah, I remember a medium said to me, "Oh, your nan, she will die peacefully in her sleep without any pain." And I remember I mentioned that to my nan, and she said, "Oh my God, I can't go to sleep now." I thought, "Oh God, I shouldn't have said anything," and she did. But
she did what?
Pass in her sleep, really. That was Nan Parker. She painted that. But yeah, so it's interesting how we
Angel
connect
Love.
with
That's
sleep.
a nice name, isn't it? I never forget the first time I dreamt of my late son. He gave me a hug, cuddled, and I was overwhelmed with the undescribable love that penetrated my body even after. Oh, that's really lovely. That's sad, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's nice that he still connects with you because you're his earth mother, and he knows that he brings you comfort. I think nothing's worse for any mother than to lose a child.
Yeah. And it's actually when we talk about mediumship and that, and people say raising the dead and everything, I mean, it's love that connects the two worlds together, nothing else. I mean, that is the force that is that transcends this world. I think it's an invincible force.
I mean, why do people say raising the dead? I can't raise the skin of a rice pudding.
Yeah, Doris Stokes used to say that, didn't she?
Dead.
Yeah,
that's right.
We don't. I mean, the people, the skeptics like to sort of turn it into necromancy and all sorts of horrible things. But it's just like Angel Love. I don't expect that's your real name, but you're saying it is about love, isn't it? It's about the love that builds the bridge between the two worlds. That rainbow bridge that the Vikings talked about. That the Rainbow Bridge is
Animals.
actually built by the power of our love for the spirit world, and their love for us. And the medium doesn't have to be involved in that, because when the medium is just the conduit between that love build between you and the person in spirit. So people often will transfer onto the medium and say, "Oh, you're such a marvelous person," because they project all the love for their loved one onto you, which it's like but it's not the medium that's doing it. It's the fact that it's your love connecting with the loved ones in spirit that makes mediumship work, and also makes these connections work that we're talking about tonight in dreams.
Well, that's always why it's good to, if you go to see a medium, have an open mind, not a closed mind, because you're putting blocks up to that medium, and the spirit world's very real. So to connect with you, always go with an open mind.
Yeah, and I suppose an open heart as well, really.
A heart always filled with love.
Yeah, because I mean, before you go to see a medium, if you actually, without sort of worries and fears and everything, you can send a sort of loving thought to your loved ones. It makes it work. Certainly, it's always been the case in spiritualism. We ask people to send out their loving vibrations, and when you get a whole audience sending out their loving vibrations to the people in the spirit,
and we get a whole lot of love, Craig, coming from the platform,
and you get a lot of good evidence as well. That way.
Zoe Brown, I have often had dreams where I connect with people, and although I do not know them on the earth plane, I seem to know them very well in my dreams. I often think these are the spirits that I know on a soul level.
Could be.
It could be from a past life.
It could be memories of past lives, or it could be like she's saying, because I mean, we've got lots of people, like when someone's born into this world. I remember when like Damien was born, you think, well, there's a little baby come into the world, and you think to yourself, I wonder what the connections are going to be and how important that person is obviously going to be in your life, and you don't know that person, that baby that's just come into the world. You don't know anything about them, and yet there's something in you that does know them in a deep level. And I think that's because there's people living in the spirit world who are born into this world and who have passed into this world, and some who won't come into this world, who we are deeply connected with. And perhaps that's what Shelby's getting there. As she says, it's on a soul level. Maybe they are people who are part of your soul group, but they just haven't incarnated. But when you go to the spirit world, you'll recognize them like you would your own mother.
Sacred flames, I call them.
Do you think that's the same thing?
Yes.
Do you believe that there's people around us that are very important to us who have never even incarnated in this earth?
Right. WPS. Lara, can I please ask more about how you keep your dream job? Yes, can I ask? You keep it under the bed?
Well, shall I explain? I think a dream journal is mainly to remember your dreams, really. And I don't keep it all the time. I've had periods where I've kept long periods of dream journal. Then I've stopped completely from years at a time. But then I've always found the best thing to do is when you're is to remember your dreams. So write down first everything that was said in the dream, because that is the stuff you'll forget quickest, right? So don't worry about trying to start the beginning, go to the end, because you know what dreams are like. They get all over the place, don't they? So get down all the main facts first, what was said, because that will go first.
And the date and time.
Yeah, well, you can put your date and time afterwards at the top, because you need to keep a reference. And then don't try to get the whole order. I kind of put it down like a mind map. So I think, first I was in the train station. Then I was going down the river. And then my granddad came in. And then I saw a pack of dogs, whatever, I'm just random stuff. Put it all down randomly. And then after you've got all your main salient points down, then if you want, you can start writing it down from beginning, middle to end. But get those bits that are most likely to get forgotten, and to get the main scenes in, because you'll often have a dream, and when you start writing it down, you suddenly realize there was another dream before that one, and you might have even had a series of 3 dreams, one after another. So in a way, you've got to just get as much. Don't try to write it all well. Don't worry about spelling or handwriting or anything like that. Sometimes a little picture's a good thing, if just to remind yourself and jog your memory, and then write the rest down. And it takes effort, because you've just woken up. The last thing you want to do is start scribbling stuff down, but it can be extremely helpful and useful. And the very fact that you start writing your dreams down will mean that you'll get more and more and more vivid
And you
dreams.
can use that as a reference and go back in a few years as well.
Yeah, I've got a dream diaries from the 20s, and it's amazing the things that were said in it. And sometimes I look and I think, my God, that was telling me about this and that would happen in my life. At the time, I didn't realise.
Patrice, in my dream, I once met my grandmother. She was much younger. She was in a town called New Jerusalem. Once I left, I wasn't able to return. Couldn't find the gate anymore. What means New Jerusalem? Well, they do go back younger in the spirit world. They don't remain old because they're taking a New Jerusalem, and that perhaps she is talking about the spirit world.
Oh well, perhaps she's talking about a new world. You know, I mean, Jerusalem was always like the William Blake song, Jerusalem. We will build Jerusalem in England's green and pleasant land. I mean, William Blake took that image as being that there would be a rebirth of great spirituality in Britain. That Britain would be the next Jerusalem. It would be the next center of the world, and so it might have similar symbolic context, not necessarily the same as William Blake's, or maybe the spirit world is the New Jerusalem. If you're coming from Jerusalem, you could be coming from a Christian background, a Jewish background, or a Muslim background, because it's a holy city for all those races and others, actually. So all those religions, rather. And so it's a symbolic of perhaps of a new life, a new beginning, a new world, a new start, a great spirituality. So you know, these symbols we have to work around. She couldn't get back
through the gate.
She couldn't get back through the gate. It's like perhaps this. Oh yeah, what did she say? It was. She went.
It's New Jerusalem. She went to try to get back, and she couldn't get back through the gate.
So I suppose it's perhaps it means you've been in the spirit world.
I wasn't able to return. Couldn't find the gate anymore. What?
Yeah. So after the gate comes up, and a lot of symbolism, like you know,
gates of heaven.
The gates of heaven, Jacob's ladder. There's always these sort of idea, and the sea across the river of Styx and things. It's Styx, and this idea that there's a division between this world and the next. So maybe that gate is simply the fact that it's not your time to go. That's what divides you. And one day when we die, we can pass through that gate and have the reassurance of knowing there's something more to follow this life.
I remember my grandmother had a dream of the gates of heaven, and the gates opened, and then she could see Jesus through that gate. She went to reach up to him, it disappeared. 2 days after she died, and we had a wreath made of the gates of heaven for her.
All right. I think it'd be the gates of hell for my family.
No, I think it would be a manhole. Right. Yeah, Craig.
So Karina's saying, good evening. I got a phone call from my grandmother years after her death. Oh, these are I've seen these before. Yeah. She eagerly explained something I couldn't understand. I loved her deeply and miss her. I'm told she's my guardian angel. Now, I'm presuming what you're saying there, you got a real life phone call, not a phone call in a dream. Although, interestingly, phone calls in dreams are often very interesting because they're like our connection with the unconscious or our connection with the next world. But it sounds to me like you've had a real direct, actual experience.
Yeah, it has been known that people can hear someone's voice on the phone that's passed over. It's one way going through the alpha waves to communicate to them.
Lots of people have expressed very similar things. I mean, phones are often one of the strangest things. When people die, because phones call at
yeah,
we all had a phone call at exactly the same time, didn't we?
2 o'clock.
Yeah, all our mobiles went off all at once. Everybody's mobile went off, and that was the time Dad had died. And then we also had this house also filled with the smell of jasmine when he went, didn't he? Just absolute strong smell of jasmine. So I'm not saying that you can't. That's not real, because who knows? Perhaps, like I say, perhaps particularly at the time of a death, right on the time of a death, there sometimes is a special energy, and sometimes the spirit people are able to utilize it. The fact that if it doesn't happen doesn't mean they don't care, because I wouldn't imagine it's an easy thing. But maybe we sometimes get a message because there's a great rendering of energy as where a person leaves this world, a wrenching, a tearing, really, when a person leaves one world to the next. And although they don't feel any pain or distress from it, I think there's a tremendous energy release that's from the body itself, and on all our connections. And maybe it's almost like a lightning flash of energy that can create these incredibly reassuring experiences, like your phone call from heaven.
Well, that's sad. Laurie Owens, my 60-year-old husband still has monster dreams. He wakes me up screaming. Oh, that's sad, isn't it? Did he have nightmares, I wonder, as a child?
Usually, it's only actually in the studies of dreams. It's usually only children that dream of monsters.
Yeah,
Adults don't often dream of monsters, and yet if you look at children's dreams, they're often filled with monster dreams. And people often have argued that maybe that's a connection with the ancient times, and they still, when they're young, the brain develops in such a way that they still connect with fear of, you know, animals and things from our primal times. Or perhaps that's for children, monster dreams are often emotions that are so big that you don't understand them. You know, you're getting adult feelings, for example, and you don't know what they are, and they scare you. So I would suggest that if he's getting monster dreams, he's having feelings of something in his mind, and this is more symbolic, I think, of something he doesn't understand. There's something that frightens him, that is a hidden thing, a forbidden thing, perhaps, a thing that is that his mind can't get around, and he doesn't. So the monster, I think, is like, I've got something monstrous, but I don't know what it is. Or it could even go back to something like, it could definitely, it could connect to something. So those are the sort of things I would, you know, if he's keeping a dream diary, you might find other dreams will explain it for you, you know. And often when we start to look at these things and say, write it down and analyze it and face it, because often the monsters are the things we don't want to face. But the fact we've written it down has mean we started the process of facing it, you know. So it's part of the healing process, because dreams are there to, those type of psychological dreams are there to heal us.
Yeah, Craig.
You want me to read this
Yes.
one? Okay, I'll read it. You can answer it.
Maybe.
My late husband left me 10 years ago this year.
I do know this lady.
A week after he passed, I dreamed we met at a large windmill and walked high up in the windmill. I have never had a dream after that with him until 3 weeks ago. All it was, he was standing next to me, holding me around my shoulders. So that's quite a nice image, isn't it? The windmill.
Well, it symbolised to me he's still there protecting her.
Yeah.
And the windmill, like time, isn't it? Time goes around, and
it could be symbolic on lots of levels.
Yeah, and it seems to me time goes around. This lady's moved on, and all is okay. That's why he's standing next to her, holding her around the shoulders. You know, he's at peace because he's pleased that she's got a new life.
Yeah,
that's what it symbolises to me.
And also another thing about the idea of the wind as well, the breath as well. These are considered as symbols of the spirit. The pneumus, I think it is, isn't it? Pneumus or something. I can't remember I've got the words wrong, but a symbol of the spirit. The spirit is often considered as the breath in mythology, as well as, of course, in yogic things as well. But in mythology, the breath was the life, and when the breath left the person, the life left the person, and the wind itself would be the idea of the spirit connecting with us. You find it also fascinating ideas in all the ancient
also
tribal religions. The American Indians believe this, and others.
Walking high up to the windmill, it's like he's gone into his spirit world, and all is all right. So, because this lady's quite spiritual, he's spiritual, and that putting arms around the shoulders like that feels to me approval of her life, what's happening around her now.
A symbol of love, isn't it, as well, and connection, love. Physical connection.
Yeah.
And like you say, going up in the mountains, going high up, is going higher into the higher realms again. You know, we often think of the spirit world, although, you know, there's no God in the sky type of thing, but we think of the higher consciousness, we think of higher realms, we think of they progress to the higher realms, you know. So again, symbolically, I think that is very much connected with, you know, the idea this is a dream. It's telling you about connecting with the higher realms.
It's quite
the
beautiful
symbolism,
dream, actually.
and it's a lovely expression for your feelings as well.
Yeah, it's
You
beautiful.
know, and although these things could be interpreted as an expression of your feelings entirely, I think very, very often the spirit world connects with us like this too.
Jason next.
Do you want me to read it?
Why not?
Jason, about a year after my mother's aunt died, she received a phone call on her mobile from her aunt's old phone number. Wow. She rang back and discovered that her old number was most definitely disconnected.
That's interesting, isn't it? That's spooky.
Wow, spooky one. That is a spooky one, isn't it? And she actually spotted the number.
That's a real sort of phenomenon, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. That would be quite an interesting one, particularly if you've got, because nowadays we can see the return senders, the callers ID, can't we?
Yeah.
And that could almost be a proof, you know, to show that phone, you know, should have photographed the phone to show that it's your aunt's number on there. Is it your aunt's? Yeah. So yeah, that's a fascinating.
What's interesting, it was numbers definitely disconnected.
Yeah, that's right, and you can prove it was disconnected.
Well, we know that you need lots of energy for people to connect with you, don't we? So that's quite a lot of energy went into that.
Yeah, and I would say something like that is a definitive proof of life after death.
Absolutely.
Like I say, it would have been nice to have photographed it and there's a proof there. But of course, these things happen when you least expect it.
Oh, yeah.
Then you're not going to
when
start.
They're meant to happen.
Yeah. I mean, the Society for Psychical Research used to do an awful lot of interesting studies in this type of thing, you know, communications from the dead and between the living as well. And, you know, they logged a lot of it, you know, and there was a massive amount of work done. But nowadays, there's not the same cataloguing of these paranormal experiences. It's more like this. We talk about it, perhaps more openly than people did
wasn't
before.
Wasn't there, going back in Victorian times, that voices heard on those old-fashioned, not record players, those great big like horn things? Gramophones
on the wireless and things.
Yeah.
Well, people, white noise, of course, they made the movie of, didn't they? Because we will often hear, just like we see pictures in clouds, we'll often hear voices in a random sound like white noise or white radio frequencies. And there was a lot of work done with spirit communication through that. And again, so I suppose you're hearing a voice in the sound, right? But what you're actually hearing is you're hearing your unconscious mind project onto that sound. So the spirit is making the communication through you, which sounds like it on the sound.
Yeah, but
sometimes more than one person hears it at the same time.
People put their head on a pillow at night and they can hear someone talking to them in their ear.
Yeah.
So where's that coming from?
I know people. When you talk to a lot of people who've lost someone, particularly if they're alone, you know, they've lost their husband or wife, you know, they'll often talk about feeling them come close, you know, and I think it's a very personal thing for people. Your turn.
Angie. When my sons were young, I was sleeping and I heard a man's voice telling me to wake up. I thought it was my dad trying to wake me up. When I woke up, I was laying face down, suffocating on my pillow in the dark. Oh, that's frightening, isn't it? It probably was him trying to warn her
could
from
be a spirit,
beyond.
couldn't it? Or it could be your own unconscious mind telling you to wake up. Whatever way, it looks like it's only just come in the nick of time.
Well, yeah, to protect her and that.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Well, it's
Angie,
like people in accidents. Something might tell them not to go over that particular bridge, and it's so strong that they don't go over there, and suddenly a car smashes into the bridge.
And she didn't just hear it in her mind; she heard it with her ears from the sounds of what Angie's saying.
When people put their head on pillows, they can hear people talking to them.
Yeah, that's not just projecting something. No. That is something like a real wake up.
That's a spirit voice protecting her. Yeah, it's not her time to go over.
Yeah. And I've heard of lots of cases of people who've said things similar when they've been told not to do something. A voice has said it to them loud and clear, and they don't claim to be mediums. They just hear it. They take note of what the voice says and change their course, or don't get on the train, or don't get on the Titanic. There's some
or don't
cases
go on a
of that.
plane.
Yeah. and it can be saved your life. So
Yeah.
who knows what the spirit are capable of.
Guardian angels, eh?
Yeah. So if you're enjoying this, remember I will be doing some stuff on the patron site. We'll talk again about dreams, and that'll be done on Skype, not Skype. What's it called? Zoom. So I'm just getting used to Zoom. So those are the patrons on the Elysium patrons and the Olympus patrons, because we've got 3 tiers. Can join me on Monday if you like, and as long as you've got a good connection, we can sort of talk about similar type of things. And we're here voice to voice, and we're
actually like nice that you saw people's faces come up here, wasn't it?
Well, we can do that, but the problem is you've got to send people the link and the rest of it, and it gets a bit complicated. But we do it on the patron site, and that's why we have it on there. And you can have a chat. And again, how these sort of dream type things can also stimulate our psychic abilities too. I mean, can we use them to get in touch with our latent psychic powers? So so there's the last questions now. And so those of you who want to become patrons, you will find it in the description below, and you can connect and you can find out. And being a patron is more about helping us move the site forward, but we do also offer you some extra content, and we do offer you some interactions with I'll answer your questions there and things like that.
Yeah, and how are you all coping in lockdown? I mean, it's quite difficult for everybody, isn't it? This is why it's so nice to connect, Craig, with everybody all over the world. Yeah,
and that's the sign, as Domenico's putting up the signs. You can also connect with us on Facebook and Twitter, and you're on Instagram, Jane, aren't you? If you can remember your password.
I've got it back. I've got it back. I only told you that.
Okay, and so you can connect with us in lots of ways through. And we got a second channel actually, which it doesn't have as much as this channel on it, but we put some of the stuff for the sort of the silly things like what was it, the one I was watching with the fish and chips during lockdown, and
that's just
all the sort of
just
the sort of ordinary fun day-to-day vlogs, as they call them. So Josephine's saying, I had an old manager that I worked with and got a strong bond with. When he passed, I was so very upset, and he came to me in my dreams, and he looked so happy and had a white outline around his head. Had biggest smile and looked at
that's
peace.
Beautiful, Josephine, isn't it? Obviously, you knew that you were sad, and obviously wanted to connect with you because you knew you were a good person, and to actually have that dream, it's sort of reassuring, isn't it?
And Josephine, don't you? Of course, how powerful these things can be. No matter what people say to us, when you have a dream that is very clear like that, and there's a certain feeling you go away with, where you know that it's not come from inside you, as it were. You know that it's something that has been given to you from the spirit world.
And of course, also Josephine's quite a creative person too.
Oh, so Josephine, because she's a Facebook person, so she's obviously connected with you through Facebook, right? So like I say, it's fascinating when we get these real feelings of connection with the spirit world. It just proves that there's nothing to fear in death. Really, the life does go on beyond the grave.
All in life, really. Every day's a blessing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, as long as you've got a roof over your head, food in your stomach, you can pay your bills. We're very blessed.
Yeah.
Through this lockdown.
Yeah. I think we're all very we're lucky actually, those who are watching this program, because obviously a large number of you are people that either believe it or have had proof of it or are searching. And it's so important that we do take these things into consideration in our life. What a wonderful gift it is when you actually do get proof of life after death, whether it comes through a dream or a personal experience or through a medium or through involvement in things like spiritualism. These are such precious it's precious knowledge, isn't it? Because most people rush through this life and they don't care about, I don't believe in life after death, a load of nonsense. And of course they start getting towards the end of their life, and then all the big questions come up. Yeah. And they all become they become very religious all of a sudden. But it's a good thing to know these things. So Holly's saying, please spend just a minute talking about what you feel on Trump. America is begging you.
America has to wait.
Okay. Well,
I don't think we should do politics, Craig, because I think we're keeping.
I will do another video on it, actually. At the moment, to be honest, I'm letting the dust settle in my own thoughts about this before I can get what I feel, because I mean, I did say in one of my videos, just one thought, that after Trump would be a strong socialist America. Now, I was expecting Trump to have a second term, and I still think there's a strong possibility that might still happen, even with all what's happening. I certainly feel, they should count all the votes and all the rest of it and have a second inquest into this, because just so that if Biden is the final president, then he's legitimized. You can't leave it hanging in the air, otherwise America's going to be in absolute chaos, and terrible things happening.
Another count? There's nothing to hide.
Yeah, and so that's very important, from both parties side with that. But I remember making one of my predictions. I said that there would be a socialist America after, and I remember, if you look at my videos, and it said it in the Nadi too, that it would be a female that would be the next president after Trump. Now, maybe I've got it wrong, or maybe it's not going to be Biden, or maybe Biden's only going to be there a short time, and his vice president, I've forgotten her name now, would be
Kamel.
would actually be the one that becomes the president of America. So anyway, I'm going to say some things about that later on, because I was just formulating in my feelings, and it's a bit like a dream. You can't make yourself dream. The dream has to be given to you. And it's the same with these clairvoyants, this clairvoyance. When people say, oh, Liverpool's playing Barnsley, who's going to win? I wouldn't know, because it just don't work like that.
No.
It has to be given to you from the outside, and you get some of it and some of you don't.
It's like somebody saying to you, well, could you give me the lottery numbers? I could do with it.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen like that, does it? It's all karmic. Do you want to answer incarnation?
If someone's reincarnated, how can they still be in connection with loved ones on Earth? Well, they wouldn't be, because they were reincarnated. But I don't think in most cases, I think there's quite a long period before people reincarnate. I think the people that reincarnate suddenly have often very, very much unfinished business that they still very much have to do. It's a bit like being earthbound. But you come back forcefully, and you consequently have very strong memories of your previous life. Some of those stories in the blocks and tapes and things, I think, were those type of incidences. But I feel what happens is we go back to the spirit world. We then decide to reincarnate again as are others. Like I said, we talked about there was some in the spirit world that we may not have even been with us in this life. That when we go back there, we will recognize them and think, God, I know them as well as anybody else I've ever known. But I think what happens is we tend to incarnate in groups, and so we tend to wait a while until the main soul group is collected there, and then we'll start reincarnating again. So perhaps my great-great-grandfather has reincarnated by now, because I didn't know him at all. Okay, so once the memory connection with this world is severed with them, they can connect again.
It's like when I met Sharavana Baba. I knew him in a past life, and he knew me, because I've always had a pull towards India, and I felt I was Indian because I like many glittery things and that. And you do recognize people from past incarnations, and it might be 200 or 300 years that pass before
and that's like some of our friends, best friends, like our friends Phil and Bianca, for example. When you met them, you just know each other 100%. It's amazing how you just kind of just know, and that connects with a lot of people in life, and sometimes the most unexpected people. But you've had a connection before. Your paths will bring you back together again, because it's meant to happen. It's like that power of love. It will always attract you to the right people.
Oh, thank you, Karina.
So thank you. We're going to be gradually sort of saying bye to you now, folks, because it's nice for you all to join us again here. And don't forget, if you like, become a patron. Follow the channel if it's your first time here, and give us a thumbs up. Come back and give us a thumbs up, so it pushes it up.
Give us many hearts as you can. I like hearts.
Oh, and you can do the hearts on Facebook too, because all of that helps keep the vibration high on these chats and things, and more people to follow us.
Agility bits. Thank you.
and share it too.
Have a great
share
weekend
it.
yourself. Bye, Patrice. All stay safe too.
Have a nice weekend. Well, we're all going to have the same sort of weekends, most of us, aren't we? Because most countries are on lockdown.
Cleaning, washing,
Might stare at the
ironing.
walls for a few hours, I think. Thank you, guys. Thanks,
Bye.
Celia. Yeah, it's good of you all to keep coming from all around the world like this, and I hope it's worth staying up for if you've got or getting up for or staying up for, like some of you have done. And yeah, you can always, like I say, you can always contact us through the website too at psychics.co.uk, which you might not have had a look at. Nice jacket, Craig. Oh, this is my cheapy one that I got from TK Maxx.
What about me? What about me?
Like a bowling jacket, this one is. I think I'll go spend my afternoon bowling. Thanks for your contributions too. And it's nice of you to connect like this, all of you. And you know, it's quite an honor to be followed like this, really, on YouTube. If you think about it, it's we've got 85,000 followers now. We're hoping to get up to that 100,000.
88,000 followers.
No, I think I don't remember something.
I know we had 22,000 people connected with us all around the world.
20,000 people watched last week. So that's because it was all the controversial stuff about Trump and everything. Thanks, Lita. Thank you for the nice comments. Yeah, we'll all have a lovely weekend, won't we? Yeah. We'll all sit and perhaps tune in and hope this world becomes a bit of a nicer place, you know, less of this horrible negative energy that's out there at the moment. And a bit more honesty out there at the moment as well, between all these people too.
People that love you.
All the people hiding things, you know. Yeah.
Well, perhaps this virus is meant
Truth,
to come.
love, light, you know, all those things. That's it.
Tune in, tune out.
Turn on, tune in, drop out. Now, where did that come from?
Timothy.
You're always beautiful, Jane. There we go.
You've
got a real fan club out there, Jane.
That's nice.
Yes.
So is Boo.
Yeah, you get all the thumbs up and I get all the thumbs down.
No, you don't.
Okay, well, thank you, guys. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye for now.